Hello and welcome to PPC Live The Podcast, formerly known as PPC Chat Roundup. My name is Anu and I'm the founder of PPC Live. And if you're used to hearing from PPC experts about how to ensure that we are keeping up with the ever-changing landscape, don't worry, you are still in the right place. But instead of relaying what the PPC experts are saying, I'm going to be bringing the PPC experts to you. Every week, I'm going to be speaking to a different PPC expert about their biggest F-up, but also how they've turned things around, what their disappointments were, what their surprises were, and how, the story of how that F-up turned into a big learning and how it made them the successful marketer that they are today. Today, I have the very delight of bringing you Peter Guba, who is a great supporter of PPC Live, and he has sponsored previous events. He's written on our blog, so go check it out. He's the founder of Profit Mill, and he's a Google Ads freelancer, an all-round great freelancer working with clients of different sizes, and ex-Googler as well. So he's got some very interesting stories that he's dealt with when he's dealing with like multi-million campaigns, and even how to ensure that you don't do an F-up while you're pitching for a client. So there's some really interesting stories there. So I hope you enjoy. So let's go speak to Peter. Hello, everyone, and welcome, Peter, to PPC Live, the podcast.
Thank you for having me. Hi.
Amazing. Hi. So Peter Guba is such a fantastic support of PPC Live. He's written on the blog. He's sponsored our event. So it's such a delight to speak to him today. He is a Google Ads expert with over a decade of experience and of marketing experience and digital marketing experience in general. And during his 8-year tenure at Google, he managed over 1,000 advertising accounts across nearly every industry vertical, from early stage startups to enterprise clients with multi-million dollar budgets. And he's going to talk about some of those multi-million dollar budget clients very soon. Currently, Peter runs a Profit Mill, where he helps lead generating advertisers achieve profitable growth through paid ads. Interesting facts about Peter, which we almost talked a bit too much about this just before the previous life, he wanted to be a dentist. And right now, with all my dentist issues, like literally, I feel that very strongly. And he has a strong passion for politics, which I'm like, I'll give you a moment to sit with that one. Because, anyone having a passion for politics right now, I hope you all are okay. I hope you guys are seeing your therapist on a regular basis. And so thank you, Peter, for joining the show today.
Thank you. No, it's such a pleasure to finally catch up with you and have a good excuse to have a conversation. So, you're, I think, famous on the internet for me, just across the pond.
I'll chat to people, I'll meet people finally in person. They'll be like, I know about you, I see all about you. And I'm like, I'm sorry. Yes, I'm in the internet. I'm on LinkedIn too much. And I'm always just typing away everything that comes into my brain on LinkedIn. And thankfully, a lot of the times, a lot of people agree with me. So it's nice to find my people online who are like, that's annoying. Google is annoying in that way as well. Or this is definitely how we should be doing this, especially with recruitment and how people even get jobs as well. That's the one that really, a post of mine last week really kicked off on giving people tasks on their first stage interviews. And I'm like, why? Why do you do that? Do you have an opinion on that? Do you ever think it's a good idea to give someone a task at the first stage of an interview?
Yeah. PPC interviews. I mean, I don't know what you would ask as a task in the first PPC interview. Like, I don't know, create this campaign for me. See how you do it, I guess.
That has happened. For me, I'm literally like, I feel you're trying to get free work, especially if you then if that candidate doesn't get through, and you know how can take their ideas. And I'm like,
stuff out there.
That's a little bit. People should be wary about that. Anyway, we're not here to talk about the F-ups of our whole industry of recruiters or agency. We're here to talk about our personal experiences, about Peter's personal experience, about things that have gone wrong in the past, how we've turned it around. Because don't forget, the title of this podcast is the F-ups that led to triumphs. We're going to talk about an F-up. We're going to talk about how Peter turned it around. We're going to talk about the people who are supportive and what we should all remember in terms of making mistakes. There is always a way out as long as you communicate well. Without further ado, Peter, what is the F up that you want to share with us today? I hear that you have a funny one and a serious one for us. So yeah, go ahead. Start with whichever one you want to start with.
I think the funny one's really funny because it has a good ending at the end of the day. Otherwise, it would not have been that funny. But the funny one that I don't think warrants an entire podcast is that when I was at Google, used to work with the startup incubator, and I see I was working with advertisers who were trying out Google Ads for the very first time, and there was a lot of leeway with, I think the stakes were not as high, kind of working with that type of advertiser for the first time. They certainly weren't holding you to a really high expectations. But then I went from working with the startups to working with our largest travel advertisers, like our largest airlines, hotel groups, online travel agencies. I had 3 accounts the entire year that I was responsible for. So I was kind of like an extension of their team. And, their budgets were anywhere from $10 to $20 million a year, roughly. Happened to be put on 2 accounts that were actually competitors of each other. They both had physical locations, and the product called Local Campaigns just kind of came out. This was, I think, probably in around 2018, 2019. And I needed to pitch both of them to try it out. And they were aware that we had their competitors within our overall book, but I don't think that they were aware that I was working with both of them.
Yeah.
And the deck together of the local campaigns and explaining why they should do it. And I put the client logo in the bottom right corner on every single slide. I presented it to one of the competitors, and they were kind of I think they had a bit of a lukewarm response. They're like, okay, cool. It's a Google beta product. Want to test it out.
Yeah, exactly. We don't know what it's going to do yet.
Exactly. Yeah. And then the other company that I worked with, the other competitor, put the same deck together. I think I hardly changed anything. And I most importantly did not change the one thing that was really important to change, which was the client logo. It's why was that even necessary on the deck, right? How much personalization did that add? And I sent it off, and the agency that worked for the client responded first and was like, hey, Peter, do you want to check the bottom right corner of the slides, winky face? And even when they sent that email, I still didn't know what they were talking about. It wasn't until I opened the slide that I saw the competitor's logo. And this was early into the job. So I was basically the stakes were just so much higher. I was just no, this is a really important client for us. And I've just sent a competitor's information to them, And I told my boss about it. I told my account executive, my counterpart, and they were kind of they're not going to fire us over this. Don't do it again, but, it'll be fine. And that's kind of funny at the end of the day is the other client who got the smaller one, I think, of the 2 got back and was like, yeah, we'll try this out. We'll try this out. If you're sending this to our larger competitor, we're going to try this out.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a classic case of some competitors. They're like, oh yeah, our competitor is doing that. I want to do it as well, for sure. Which I'm not always sure is the best strategy, because you're you're not really going to set yourself apart if you're just doing the same thing that your competitors are doing. But I guess in this stage, it's about trying a new Google Ads product anyway. So doesn't make a difference.
Performance review and local campaigns, check.
So yeah, guys, if it's those who are doing pitches, you're doing pitching documents, pitching clients and pitching products, watch out for the logos. No, that's not the big lesson that you want to share with us. Get on to our second story then, Peter.
Well, okay. So I was managing this advertiser that was in the enterprise event management space. And the platform they sold, which is kind of important as context here, is a platform that allows you to do quizzes, surveys, attendee management, everything all together. So if you were hosting a big tech conference, or even sort of it could be a quarterly or annual, review for a larger organization, you might want a platform like this. And honestly, it was really hard to advertising for them because the space that they're in is so massive. Quizzes, surveys, employee engagement. God, there's so many both B2B solutions, but also a lot of B2C solutions. Think of SurveyMonkey, Typeform. These are not their competitors whatsoever, but they're going to show up for a lot of that.
Yeah.
And then there's a lot of people who just, I don't know, they're I want a fun quiz trivia for my first grade class. They're going to make that type of search. And of course, exact match or Google's match types are not actually what they say they are. So yeah. Anyway,
Yeah,
that's the whole point.
let's not talk about match time.
No.
Yeah.
Right. So it was literally impossible to only show up on the right keywords. I mean, like
Yeah.
there was not enough time to do the whack-a-mole of negating every single keyword that would come up. But we had a really difficult goal that we've set for the algorithm. It said somebody had to book a demonstration. The website itself was very clearly enterprise. So once you got there, you kind of understood like what was going on. And we used the ad copy to really kind of filter out the type of people we wanted to go after. And I did have dynamic search ads turned on as well. That should be another one that I should add. And they had like a big SEO strategy and a huge blog, all sorts of content, some of which was related to what could have been seen as like a B2C-ish piece of content, like Christmas trivia and things of that nature. Like, there's also another important topic, but this is more like consumer related, but like Juneteenth in America, is an important holiday, right? So they would kind of write about that. And what happened was we had dynamic search ads turned on and it was working. We were getting a lot of really interesting keywords. People would book demos. The client was super happy. American Thanksgiving hits and we are now on to Christmas. And we started to get some keywords for like Christmas trivia and things of that nature. And I remember when we initially reviewed it with the client, it was like, maybe this could be like some like enterprise search, like let's keep it on. We have obviously dynamic search ads running and things were just kind of humming it along. The lead volume started to like kind of slow down, but whenever I'd meet with the client, we actually met on a weekly basis. We'd say, it could be the seasonality, that's why things are slowing down. And then after like a couple of weeks, the client's like, no, this is way too slow. Like something's happening. We should really be getting some leads. And I kind of dug into it a little bit, not enough. And I was like, I don't know. It must just be like competition. It could be seasonality. It wasn't until the client reached out to me and was like, our hosting provider has just reached out and wants to increase our prices significantly due to the volume of traffic that we're getting. And all the traffic is coming from Google Ads. What is going on? And that's when I knew something happened. And I looked into it and we started to really rank for all sorts of Christmas trivia with just from DSA, from the blog content that they have. And I don't even know if it was necessarily like spending the most of the budget on that. And I think that's kind of what threw me off. But the algorithm was driving so much traffic from this poor quality or something that was not going to convert that it didn't even know what to do with the right keywords and how to find the right people. And basically we just didn't get any leads through all of December. And I had to use, some tools to really kind of have the algorithm forget all of this so we could talk about that. But in essence, I mean, a total miss, a month and a half, no lead. Yeah.
So would you say the issue was, what was the issue what was like the mess up really that caused that? Was it just not an efficient use of actually adding negative keywords? What was the thing that because that the output was, you guys were showing for a lot of keywords that are irrelevant, that was traffic going through, there were no leads going through. What's the thing that you did or didn't do that led to that?
Yeah. I think there's two parts, right? Like I have to say that this was at the end of the day a human error on my part. Like I could have really been monitoring what was going on. We could talk about also what are the settings that kind of cause this. But from the human error standpoint, I think the part that was really challenging is this client would get like, I don't know, it felt like 100,000 impressions in a week. Like there's just so many of these irrelevant keywords that they would show up for just to get the right ones. And it kind of worked that I just did not have the bandwidth to go and comb through everything that was going on. And if I was using one of these like online tools, they probably would just be shooting red flags constantly being like, this is not getting conversion. Getting conversion.
Yes.
So I mean that at an AI level, I wish I probably used some sort of like a third party tool just to kind of monitor that, or maybe just make some smart like large scale decisions. But at a very high level, it was a perfect storm. Smart bidding, dynamic search ads, The
Yeah.
client's creating SEO content that is not necessarily related to what it is that they're selling as much. Seasonality,
Yeah.
pick one.
Yeah. Yeah. It was the wrong time for that kind of mistake. Like if it had happened, let's say during springtime, we wouldn't have had
Yeah.
so many of these Christmas services because during springtime, what service are people really serving? Yeah, it's very popular. Yep. Yep. I get it. So yeah, perfect for all those kind of things. And so was it the client that spotted it or you spotted it first? Like a mixture?
So, I mean, the worst thing is that the client spotted it, right? Like you never want to be in that position because at least if you spot it, you can proactively bring it to the client and
Yeah.
say, hey, I'm watching this. Like, obviously there's things that happen within Google Ads that are a little outside of our control, and we're there to catch them as quickly as
Yeah.
possible and make those adjustments. That's why they pay you. But the client really kind of spotted like, no, this is really not that great. And we had weekly calls, so it's not like we didn't get sort of
Yeah.
check-in, but things were going almost so well for a long enough period of the time that there was no like
Yeah.
doubt that something could be going wrong. And it was our first holiday season together, like our first Christmas season,
Yeah.
so it wasn't like, and every time you take on a new client, there's also, you're learning about their industry. Like you don't
Absolutely.
realize like, okay, this is a potential issue with the
Uh,
types of keywords that were going to show up for them.
yeah, no, definitely something that I imagine then becomes part of a process in the future. Try to really understand what the seasonality is like. Was there, you said that was your first season. Instinctive question I had in my head was there a second season that you had with them?
No, so there
Oh,
wasn't a second season, and they probably didn't say it directly to me, but I imagine that that's actually what caused it. Before I stopped working with them, I did fix the issue, so I felt terrible that this occurred, and to be quite honest, like I do think that I still probably would have been the best candidate to keep working with them because it's probably good to work with the person who knows where the mistakes could occur. I'll make that argument. I
absolutely.
completely
I
understand their
agree. I
decisions.
agree.
Yeah. Yeah. So I will say that I basically excluded that entire period. So I just went absolutely crazy on the data exclusion functionality within Google Ads and just
Yeah.
excluded like the 2 months that this was running, that it just didn't make any sense. And the day that I did it is literally the day that both the CEO and the head of marketing got back to me and said, yeah, leads are back. Like they literally, the lead flow is looking like it was before. Whatever you
Yeah.
did,
You-
that right.
Yeah.
And at that point, like they did not want to work together anymore. And as it happens, they were like had me on account access for a while, and I thought I would kind of monitor it for a little bit too, just to make sure that they were good and on their way. I think overall the account itself like was doing okay. It's the
Yeah.
larger challenges with the industry of like it's extremely competitive. They were probably kind of breaking even with Google Ads. I don't think it was
Yeah.
ever like the best, performing option for them. But I think that, so the client was working with this person on SEO. I knew this person on SEO was an extremely big fan of manual bidding. And
Ah,
I knew the normal that they would stop working with me. They would just work with that person to
which,
do.
okay.
And they kind of had it running the way I had it set up, which I honestly, I think with their industry, you cannot use manual bidding. It has to be smart bidding. Like you need a system to sort through the haystack.
Yeah.
That's one or two enterprise leads that are going to make sense for them because it was not a big industry. And I saw that they were getting leads for like another 3 months after I set it up, and I was kind of happy that things were back to normal. And then I saw eventually that they switched everything to manual bidding and started getting zero leads.
Yeah. Yeah. Surprise. Like, oh, yeah.
Surprise,
No.
surprise. Like,
I feel you. I feel you. And this is why I love
mm,
this is such a great story. This is such a great story for people to hear about as to how like, because you make a mistake doesn't mean that you're the bad choice for that client. I love that even that point you made earlier on. It's actually better, usually better for the client to work with someone who has made the mistake and who knows how to fix it and who knows that that mistake will probably never happen again. And depending on how that conversation goes. Because look, we all know the phrase, better the devil you know, better the person who have made the mistake.
The grass
Are
isn't
trying to
always
grovel
greener.
and get
Yeah.
back. The grass is not always greener on the other side. Absolutely. It's about gaining your leads. And yeah, and then on the client side, let's say play a bit of the advocate for a second, because you think to yourself, okay, yes, you're annoyed, you've lost a lot of budget. Internally, you wanted to make it seem like if we fix the problem was this advertiser who spent too much of our budget. So what's the solution?
Yeah.
We fire the person who made the mistake. That's not always the solution. And I think everyone should learn this, whether it's the PPC advertisers that are listening to this now or clients who are listening to this now. If you're an in-house person, the solution is not, it's hardly ever fire the person who made that mistake. It's hardly ever the solution, especially if the person owns the mistake and goes, oh my, you're right. I know how to fix it. I will go and fix it. I'll sort it out for you. If it's a person that all of a sudden becomes very hard to get a hold of and is all like, no, oh, it wasn't me. Oh, starts to make a whole bunch of excuses as to what the error was. That's the kind of person you want to fire. It's not necessarily about the mistake. It's about how the person responds to what the mistake was. And if the person is taking accountability and owning it and knowing how to turn it around, that should be a good partnership for the future, I feel.
Well, there was some other funny stuff that I think was hilarious as part of the story. Is the CEO was the one who had a conversation with me, and he goes,
Okay.
"Yeah, we found somebody cheaper," and I was like, "Okay, cool, sounds good," And
It wasn't even the mistake, I don't think. Dude, it's just like, I want to cut costs now. And I'm like, we're going to cut leads as well, but good luck.
Yeah. No, like I obviously this is not a story about a bad client. I'm very thankful for working with them, and it was lovely to work with both of them. I think it's also, here's another part of this sort of story, and I feel like all these stories have multiple layers. Let's uncover all the layers of this onion. How many times do advertisers hire PPC specialists to like fix the problem of demand for the entire company? Like, oh, we are not growing, we are churning customers, and we need to like fix this hole in our finances. And I feel like we could do it with paid ads. And it's almost like, I don't know what the right solution is. I don't know if that is, paid ads is really powerful. It's also really costly. It's a high stakes game. Is it going to solve bigger problems? No, absolutely not. Generating demand is so integrated with all other aspects of marketing, like your website, your positioning, everything else that you're doing. So it definitely was helping them out. I think that they were making their money back in real revenue after they would close the deals. But like the margin for error was so razor thin. It was like, this needs to work. If it doesn't, we're not in a great spot. And that's also a really bad plot as a PPC, I think, specialist to be helped to that type of situation is like, you are the savior here. And it's like, no, I'd rather not for this.
Again, I will also repeat what you said. Like, this is not a dig at this client particularly, but I think advertisers should be wary of clients who think paid search is the answer when they have not really gone through a robust marketing overall strategy and looking at the product, looking like if they've actually created a good interest, a healthy interest. Because one thing that our friend Jill Saskingales always says, that this is a lesson I've got from her, is like, actually, you need to understand your landing page, your website's conversion rates before you even start doing paid search. You need to have known what the healthy organic traffic is and how that converts, and then say, okay, let's do paid search ads to it, and then you can actually go, okay, maybe paid search ads is actually good or not good, but you cannot know that really well until you know the landing page is pure organic traffic, like conversion rate for it. So yeah, when clients have not really done that depth of analysis as to overall what's creating the healthy demand for the brand itself, the product itself. Yeah, because you put a lot on paid search shoulders, and Yeah, it's not worth it. This is not supposed to be a log. We could talk so much about this. And thanks, Peter. That has been such a great topic to talk about. Our questions are still on the topic itself. What if someone is going through this same kind of issue right now? What is your advice for them? A client has just phoned up and said, "Oh my God, we've hit so much traffic. Leads are not great." And you're not even sure what the problem is until your client has said it. What's your advice to someone like that?
My policy is always honesty. So just own your mistakes. Obviously, you need to dig into what happened, but when you do find out what it is that caused this, you need to own your mistake. If you do not, and if you're not transparent about what it is that occurred, and I think there can be a gut reaction to be like, "Oh no, it wasn't me. It was this, it was that, blah blah blah." Then I think that sows a ton of doubt into the client as to, are you going to catch this mistake in the future? Was it really that, right? Like, and so I think that with the right client and with the right partner, they'll say, okay, great. This was a good learning experience. You'll learn a lot, right? And I now feel more confident that you're not going to make a mistake in the future. And that is just important, knowing that they are going to do a better job, in the future.
Absolutely. And did this change anything for you in terms of your process on working with? Because unfortunately, that client decided, no, this is the last time you're going to be allowed to make the mistake. But did it inform how you do other things and how you work with other clients, or like similar to that? Did it? Yeah.
So I don't, in terms of client work, like I keep in consistent communication with my clients at all times. So all my clients, we meet on a weekly basis. I'm available by Slack. So it wasn't a lack of communication, a lack of sort of eyes on the account. So there wasn't that much that I felt like I learned from that perspective. But I feel like I really got a hard lesson about how Google's algorithm works. So Google's automated bidding is at the end of the day, it needs to get like a good sample size of traffic for any sort of search or category of it before it says, search to go after, or this is bad search to go after. Like, did it convert into the leads or not that we wanted? And if that search category is massive, it is going to need a lot of time, a lot of budget to hit that minimum viable or that minimal sample size that it's looking for. I don't know what that is. Is that a percent of the search? Is that 10% of the search traffic? Whatever it is, to feel to create that confidence that it knows what it's supposed to do. And when you get a massive category, it's going to spend indefinitely. And especially if you have like a smaller budget, like I think our budget was like $5,000-6,000 a month, and it just kept spending on it. It just never figured out, should it not keep spending on it? Should it keep spending on it? And that was one caveat to smart bidding, where I said, no, this is where smart bidding does not work perfectly. And you need to make a bit of mention, because it's not just going to figure it out on its own.
Absolutely. Yeah. So smart bidding, have your eyes on it. And it's what I do like to tell people about automation. Don't just set it and forget it. Make sure you're putting those daily checks. Are there any tools that you feel like you would have helped with this as well?
You know what? I have not explored this enough, but obviously there's awesome tools like Optio and many of the other ones out there. They get a little pricey, frankly. So you need to get a really good value out of them. And I think they can go up pretty quickly when you have a lot of accounts saved.
Yeah.
One of those would have been, I think, great for this particular account.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I also like to speak to our guests about, this is such a brave thing that my guests are doing. And I'm really grateful already to every single person who's like, here's the mess up I did. And this is how I turned around. This is what I learned. And this is how it made me a better marketer. Do we talk enough, you feel, about failures? And should we talk more about it?
So based on what I read on LinkedIn, we don't talk about failures at all.
I don't see it.
No, it's like, I can't. There's too much of this, like, here's how I changed the world. Let me tell you how in this 7-step process. And I'm like, I can't read this anymore. If I
Yeah.
want to, feel depressed, I guess, about am I doing enough? I should just go on LinkedIn and read about people's great successes
Yeah.
online. But no, I actually think about this a lot because obviously in the world of AI, anybody can write an article and there's so many of these people who I think are like LinkedIn influencers that
Yeah.
have now come up with their own like SaaS product that's like, here's my platform for creating viral LinkedIn
Yeah.
posts, right? And it's got like
Yeah.
a certain script in there. It's probably like a chat GPT wrapper. And starting to sound the same. And I think about the fact that if you can talk about your fuck ups and your failures and the things ups are actually really hard to say to people, then
Yeah.
that's going to be one of the last things that are going to be authentic and real in the world of AI because people don't
Yeah.
actually want to share these things. I mean, even this conversation, right? Like it's not totally comfortable for me to share this story, but it is way more interesting than like, I am the best and I did all this. So I think, I think that we don't say this enough. And I think that this will be the superpower for people who can be vulnerable and
Yeah.
which is like building in public, right? That's what we call it now. But some people are
Yeah.
way more extreme about that. Adam
Yeah.
Robinson talks about his like financials and firing people and all that stuff. And we're just like all like tuned in like it's a reality TV show because it's like real and authentic. So I think that
Yeah.
that it's
I'm hoping that this is going to be the PPC version of this like PPC reality show. We want to hear that each other is human. And I love that you put that aspect of like, yeah, AI is helping people to be that whole like have such a polished purse kind of thing. And actually it's removing authenticity from it. Like you say that's one of like our big issues with AI and are there any others that come to mind?
yeah. I so the thing that I think about that I don't know how this is going to change, but so when these like we see all these posts on LinkedIn and on social media and there's all these like universal truths about how people like to consume their information, right? Like we love
Mm-hmm.
narratives. And there's
Yeah.
these different like archetypes or story archetypes that have existed for like centuries. And that's why we like Disney stories, right? Like there's always
Yeah.
like the falling of the hero and the hero rises up, right? But if we all start using those archetypes in the content because like we don't need to be good writers anymore. We could just add ChatGPT and be like, use one of the common archetypes that people like to use to consume information. Is that going to create a new archetype? Is there going to be a different type of format for information that we're going to crave that's going to
Yeah.
be so different from what everybody else posts that we're going to
Yeah.
throw, the playbook out of like how we've written narrative forever? I
Yeah.
think about that. Like what, I don't know. Like, and maybe people will be super creative
I hope
and
so.
original, but I think that that's becoming, really, really tough.
Interesting. Peter, this has been such a great, like over half an hour. I tell people it's gonna be less than half an hour, but when I've got a good guest on this show, I'm not gonna hold them back. I'm gonna let them say all that they need to say. We didn't even ask all the questions. Maybe Peter's gonna have to come back for a part two of this. So you might see him again and we'll ask him more questions about, the F up and ways that we can learn from it. But before you go, I'm going to ask you what I ask all my guests, a nice, fun, non-AI, non-marketing, non-PPC question. If your career were a movie, what would be the title?
My career was a movie would be the title. I feel like you're gonna have to help me find the right title for it, but I really do love this quote, and I forget who said this again, but that half of the work is just about showing up.
Oh, so the title can be
This is like
showing
a
up.
it's like showing up
Showing up?
of, oh, this doesn't have to be a real movie. Why did I think that that was the case? I was like, that's a really hard question.
Amazing. And Peter, you definitely embody that. Like every time that I've done like a last minute, oh God, Peter, I need you to show up for this or help me with this, you 100% show up. So that one I feel is very fitting of
Awesome.
you. So honestly, thank you so much for that fantastic chat. And yeah, hope to see you again on the podcast sometime soon.
Likewise. Likewise.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much, Peter, for sharing that very honest and transparent experience from those two stories. The one that was a hilarious mistake of, let's call it a hilarious mistake of putting like a competitor's logo while I was presenting a solution to another client, the competitor's client. So yeah, look out for those kind of things when you're writing all those, putting all those presentations. I know it's a lot of hard work where attention to detail will win or lose a client. So yeah, and it was just so great to hear those stories that Peter gave and that experience that he gave with that second client. And even though how he might have lost the client, the agency might have lost that client, but there was still a big learning. And look at that, even though he lost the client and the client decided they were going to go in a different direction with a different paid search expert. Yeah, performance did not do as well. Don't ever, to advertisers, don't be too disheartened when you feel like you've made a mistake and then a few weeks later the client goes, oh yeah, we no longer want to work with you. That's not necessarily the end of the world. That's not necessarily a big failure. It's as long as Peter did, you were able to really turn things around and fix things and bring leads in. Because honestly, the person who has actually made a mistake on an account, they're going to be the one that works twice as hard. So that's not just a message for advertisers, but also for clients and brands who are out there being annoyed that their paid search expert has made a mistake. They are the ones now, they are going to do everything they can to continue to win your trust and to do going hard and ensure that not another mistake happens. So yeah, I think those are the ones that you should really keep in your back pocket, because they're the ones that really will try to win as hard for you as you would for yourself. One question I forgot to ask Peter when we were chatting was asking him where we could find him. Yeah, you can find him on LinkedIn. That's Peter Guba, last name Guba. But also find him on his fantastic website. That's profitmill.io. So that's PROFITMILL.io. So yeah, go check him out and check out the fantastic feedback he's gotten from past clients and the model that he uses. And just he's able to bring so many years of experience. Whether you're a small brand or a big brand, he can definitely help you out. And for all the information and the full transcript of this fantastic chat, please go to podcast.ppc.live. You'll get all the full details of the fantastic story that Peter just shared. Of course, we can't leave you without giving you some update about PPC Live and what's going on. We've got 2 events coming up for you in both June and July. We're going to be in Leeds in June. We're going to be back in London celebrating 3 years of PPC Live in July. So make sure you go get your tickets for that. If you go to ppclive.eventbrite.com, you'll be able to get tickets to either of those events. We hope to see you one of them. Before I leave you, I'd love to share that I've also got coaching services that I've started, paid search coaching, and you can book on an hourly basis if you go to themarketinganu.com, just to help you guys reignite that passion for paid search, give you that confidence that you are on the right path, especially with all the changes that we're seeing, all the updates that we're seeing. I get to see them firsthand, whether I like it or not. It's my job. So I can help you, give you that insight to ensure that you are on the right path on what you're trying to test for your client, for your brand, or even how to question your agencies on what they're doing. I'd love to support with that as well. So yeah, if you go to themarketinganu.com, you'll be able to find more details about that. And yeah, look forward to bringing you more stories from PPC experts and more F-ups and triumphs next week. Thank you. Bye.